Hello, everyone. Welcome back again. This is Regas Sager,
And I'm Deshanel Sager.
and we
we're
are
wrecked
wrecked
and
and
certified.
certified.
Hello, hello. How's everyone doing out
Hello,
there?
everyone. I am here and tired, but I am here. All right.
I'm
Yeah.
doing good. I'm a little thrown off today. I forgot my purse at home, walked out the door without my purse. I'm like, what? But we're here and we are live doing a little show for Wrecked and Certified. How's everybody doing? Working on their goals and getting ready for the end of the year, working on their vision boards. We still haven't received anything
They
from
don't
you
they
for the
they
vision
don't
board.
they don't want to get no money. They don't they just,
They don't want to go
they got
eat.
all the money. They don't want to, enjoy, go out to a restaurant and whole 9 yards. But anyway,
We'll use it. We'll go out to eat with it.
yeah. I'm
So,
hungry. Yeah.
but anyways, today we are going to be talking
Well,
about
before we go there, let's give a shout out to our last guest we have on the show. It's Andrea with
Andrea
her
Jackson.
coaching, her
Yeah.
coaching business.
Royalty life coaching.
Yes, Royalty Life Coaching. Thank you so much again for coming on the show and taking some time out to kind of give us some really good information about coaching and the difference between coaching and getting into some of the more psychological stuff or whatever. It's all psychological, in my opinion, but she just gave us some really good tips and tools. Check her out online. She'll be more than happy to help you. If you're stuck somewhere, she can help you get out of that rut.
And I've
All
been
right?
trying to use some of that information that she gave us last time about getting up and getting your focus in the morning, doing your meditation, your prayer, your reading. So hopefully you guys are working on some of that, those little tips that she gave us to help
Good
you get
stuff.
started on your day. So yeah, good
Yeah, real,
stuff.
real good stuff. So
So
today, what are we going to talk about?
we are going to talk about soulmates.
What? Soulmate. Oh my gosh.
Soulmates. So, it was weird how I came up with what we were going to talk about. I was just kind of hemming and hawing about what are we going to talk about? And I kept hearing this word being thrown out there, soulmates, soulmates. You're on TV and you're on social media and you hear people, this is my soulmate, this is my soulmate. And I'm like, okay, well, what does that really mean? What does that really look like? What is soulmates
Well, I
to
can tell
me?
you, for me, it means, honey, you're my fourth soulmate. That's what it means to me. And we were talking about this prior to the show. It's like it's a loose term.
It is a loose term, and if I feel like that everybody's using it today, but what is the true meaning behind it? Now, we looked up what it means on Google, but then also we're going to give you our definition about what we think soulmates are to us. Now, you may not agree with what we say.
Oh, there's going to be a lot of rub in this show. I'm going to tell you that right now. I mean,
You may not
we're down to
agree.
27 minutes, and I'm counting. But I'm telling you, there are a lot of different iterations, different versions, different definitions based on experience, lifestyle, your lens, the whole 9 yards. But we're going to give it to you from our perspective. And I'll be honest with you. When we were talking about this earlier, I don't even know if we got it down, but we're going to have this conversation, see where it takes us. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, so Google's definition of soulmates is a person ideally suited to another as a close friend or romantic partner. So I was like, okay, well,
I got tons of soul mates then. I mean,
well, to me, I was thinking about that thing and I was like, okay, well, it says it's either a friend or a romantic partner. Well, a lot of people, when they're referring to an individual as a soulmate and they're referencing to it, they're talking about someone that they're in a relationship with,
right.
not as a friend. So, and I was like, okay, well, I started to think about that thing. I was like, okay, well, I have a couple really good friends that I'm tight with. And I was thinking about that and I was like, okay. Then I have my husband. And, and I was like, now how does that, so I was like, so my really good friend, Roxanne, put her name out there, Roxanne, I consider as like looking at that, I said, okay, so she's a soulmate to me because she'll call me or I'll call her and she'd be like, "Oh, I was just thinking about you. I was getting ready to call you." Or, "Are you okay? Something, I was thinking maybe something was wrong with you. I hear something in your voice. Is there something wrong?" So it's like she's reading that in me. But on the other hand, I was like, to me, Regas is my soulmate. Now, I've been married before, and
Soulmate number 2.
Regas
Yay.
is my soulmate number 2. So, but first of all, let me give my definition or my perspective of a soulmate. To me, a soulmate is dealing with the soul. So I'm thinking about it being body, mind, and spirit. You have that connection with the person on that mind level, that spiritual level, and also that natural, having a natural connection with them. And to me, you with friends, you have more of that spiritual, that natural connection. Now with Regas and I, we have a natural connection. We have a physical connection.
Yes, we do. We definitely have a physical perspective and connection.
And then I got to thinking about that thing when you're married to someone, and say if you've had multiple marriages, Regas. And Regas, he's not afraid to throw it out there. Yes, I am wife number 4. And I'm like, so I asked him when we were talking about it, "Babe, I need to know, were the previous women that you were married to, were they your soulmates, or did you consider them your soulmates?"
So, and this is how I replied to this question, because this is fair. This, we put it out there. This is fair, game here, and this is fair conversation. And I said, you know what? Think about when you were 15 or 12 or 18, right? Your whole perspective, your whole value system, your whole view of life is different, right? So when I got married young to the kid's mother, I thought that, oh my gosh, that was it.
And that was wife number
That was one.
number 1.
And so my perspective was, we're going to be together forever. We're going to raise a family, blah, 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 blah. Obviously, that didn't work out. And so what ends up happening as you move along the pendulum, as you move along in life, your perspective and your value system changes. People go, "Oh no, my value system is the same." No. It changes based on your experience and your maturity level. So what I thought or perceived was a soulmate when I was younger, I totally have a different persona and a different perspective or a different viewpoint as to what a soulmate is. And so what I ended up having to do after going through those 3 different relationships, and we started talking and going through our thing, and I said, "Hey, look, based on your definition, what you got from the Webster, I got from Google, it's either a friend or somebody in a romantic kind of encounter, right?" I said, who I am going after, trying to, figure out if they're going to be right for me or whatever, I had to change my perspective and I had to redefine what I was going after so I can believe within me that I have a soulmate, because what I was doing earlier and younger, I was basing things on the wrong set of values. And so what you were saying earlier about this term soulmate, you really have to define that. And so to answer your question, at the time with those other individuals, I thought, this is it. This is it.
That's your soulmate.
This is it. And this is it. And so what I had to do, I had to redefine my value system and saying, why do I keep having fallouts with all these relationships? And I had to really do some introspection, and I had to really take a look at what I was going after. And because I'm like, what I was going after, what I like, and we all know this, when you go after something, it's like eating bad food. It's like it tastes good, but it's bad for you. Same thing in relationships. If you keep falling out of the same relationship, you're going after the wrong thing because it's not going to stick. So that soulmate thing, like I said, is kind of a loose term. But we were talking earlier, and I'll throw this out to you, dear. I would venture to say that we all have seen relationships where they've been married a long time, 15,
Yes.
20, sometimes 30, 40 years, right?
Yes.
And you go into that house or you meet them somewhere and you see that their relationship is cold.
Yes.
It's there's no communication there. They're just together for whatever reason. Could be because of money, could be because of kids, it could be image, because I don't want to be alone, but you know that something's not right there. Can we then say that they're soulmates?
That's a good question. I mean, they have a couple aspects of it. They may be good friends, but they don't have that spiritual connection. They don't have that physical connection, and they don't have that natural connection where they just are like ships in the night. Just I'm dwelling with
I'm
you.
in the harbor.
There's a body or a person present in the house. They're still my friend, but we just aren't connected
How
with
many
each other.
how many relationships are like that? Where they're with
There's a lot of
somebody. They're with somebody for all of those other benefits, those other tangible benefits, but you can clearly see that there is like no connection. So would you, like I said, the question is again, would you call them soulmates? I mean, I would venture to say probably not, because just because you're together under the same roof doesn't make you compatible and doesn't make you in love.
Well, let me throw this out there. Let's say that, and on a friend level, there can be say a guy is married and he has a really good friend that's a female, and he has a better connection with that friend than with his spouse.
Ouch.
Is he soulmates to the friend, or is he soulmates to the wife?
Well, I would say this: we live in a very pluralistic society. He's probably going to say both.
To be on the safe
yeah,
side.
to be on the safe side,
You
I'm
better
gonna
say both.
Yeah, well, but think about this: if you're not making deposits into your own relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because how do you know somebody? How do you know, like, oh my gosh, you knew exactly what I was thinking, or you knew that I wanted to eat
Spending
this, or
time.
exactly spending time,
Communication.
communication, committing with people, experience, right?
Yeah.
When you take yourself, let's say you and I are in a relationship, which we are, and I say, well, hey, honey, I'm hanging with the boys tonight. And I'm hanging with the boys tomorrow night. And I'm going to hang with the boys on Monday night. And then I'm going to hang with the boys on Thursday night. And then, you know what? Hey, when we get together on Saturday, I'm busy. I got other things. I'll catch you round the way. What ends up happening? I'm making deposits in other relationships that can be really defined, what you said earlier, as soulmates. Think
Yeah.
about it. If I'm going to take all of my time and give it to somebody else and not make deposits in our relationship, then really there's no foundation, or there's no basis for saying that you're going to be my soulmate. Really, we're kind of like this. If I can use this, we're here and then we're growing apart. And
Yeah.
then that's what ends up happening in a lot of relationships. They're like, oh, God, it's soulmate. Yeah, because it's the wedding night. It's soulmate because we're having fun. It's soulmates because we're doing things
We can
together.
laugh and have a good time together.
And all of that needs to ring true. And that needs to be a constant mainstay. But when you start making deposits in other things, who loses? Is the people in the relationship, because there's a lack of attention and a lack of experience going on, right?
And you mentioned that deposits. Now, I'm going to use it for like a bank scenario. So you're taking money to the bank and you're making those deposits, but then there's going to become a rainy day where you're going to be like, oh, okay, or a bill to be paid or whatnot. You need to go and withdraw from that. I'm going to use that as a scenario for your relationship. Sometimes you're not going to have the intimacy there. Sometimes you're not going to have those things there when you are soulmates and you guys are tied together, but you're not always, all those things may get a little bit dry, but you have that account where you can go back on it, and you have that, as you alluded to earlier, that foundation of friends where that will keep you together as those soulmates, and you have that tie to each other. So sometimes when and I say soulmates, and I use that loosely, but your soulmates, you have some type of foundation that you can fall back on. And I know we've talked about that in previous podcasts where you have that and you can fall back on it. So I'm going to use this as an example. And with Regas, and I was saying that how I feel like, and the reason why I say that he's my soulmate.
That's
And
right. You better get it right. No, I'm kidding.
so, but just with that, I have a different connection with him. I have a spiritual connection with him where I know that if I'm lacking in a spiritual area, where I know that he is praying for me. And even in those situations where, something is laid upon his heart and he's like, babe, today I was just praying for you. I was thinking about you. I just said a little prayer for you. And I'm just like, oh my God, I needed that in those moments and vice versa. And I do the same thing with him, even on a natural connection where I'll be thinking about, God, I just want Thai food. And then he'll call me and be like, oh, how about we go to Thai? And some of you guys may just say, that's coincidence. But it's a constant thing with us and we have that connection with each other where again that gets into the soulmates, the mind, the body, and the spirit, which we have that connection with each other and we feed off of that thing.
Yeah, and I think that's important because when you look at relationships, because granted, I mean, you look at our world today. There are a lot of stresses. There's a lot of frustrations. There's a lot of things going on in this world with pandemic, with environmental issues going on, and fires and smoke and everything. It has just been a hodgepodge of just craziness this year, right? So, what do you do with your relationship? Like we said on earlier podcasts, you have to pull into each other. And I know we're talking about soulmates and we use that term loosely or whatever. And I believe that definitions are defined society-wise over time because granted, go back 50 years, gay meant something else. Gay meant, hey, you're happy. Now it doesn't mean that today. You go around talking about you gay and you may not have that affiliation. You may be labeled a certain way. And I'm not throwing off on anything. If that's your persuasion, that's your persuasion. But I'm just saying it has a different connotation. It has a different meaning.
Yeah.
And same thing with our relationships. As things evolve and change in our lives, our relationships take on a different chapter and a different meaning. And if we're not careful, we can let outside pressures, right, butt up against our relationship to have us looking at each other from different sides of the equation. Crazy. And so, and we need to, like you said, make deposits. And I'll say this. This morning I was in the bank. So I go to the bank and I'm making a deposit. And so there's a gentleman behind me and he's filling out his card and he's doing his thing. And, I'm just, how you're in the bank, you're just kind of looking around and, checking everything out. So no one robs you because you're making a deposit $100. And I'm kidding. And so anyway, he goes up to the teller window. I'm at the teller window. And then, I kind of look at the corner of my eye and like, okay, let me see what's going on over there, whatever, I may need a friend. And so he said, do not have them call me, and holds up this paper to the teller. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of weird. And then the teller goes over to the back counter and she puts all this money in there and all you heard was, and she does it again. And I'm like, man, serious deposits. You can get happy around that. And so, so I finish up at the teller window and I'm walking out and I see he's finishing up. So he's right behind me going through the door. And I said, man, that was a beautiful sound. And he said, yeah, I hit big last night. And so we started talking or whatever. And I said, I need to shake your hand or whatever. And I'm saying all this to say, when you make good deposits, it makes you feel good.
Yeah, it is.
And it's the same way when you're making a big deposit in the bank because you worked hard, you put out the sweat equity and you put in those hours and you got compensated and you go to the bank and you chunkate it and you put it in the bank. When you walk out of there, it makes you feel good. And it's the same thing with your relationship. When you make good deposits into each other, right? Mm-hmm. you feel good, or at least I feel
Yeah,
good.
I do
I
too.
mean, who doesn't feel good when you say something positive about your spouse or a friend, or you make a good statement and they feel good, you feel good, or whatever. It's like we were saying in earlier podcasts about giving back and paving it forward or whatever, and all this
Yeah.
other stuff. It's the same thing
Pay it
when
forward in your
yeah,
relationship.
pay it forward in your relationship. So, this soulmate thing. I mean, if that's the case, then I'm the big one of the biggest offenders out there, because I'm like, shoot, like I said, I'm on my fourth soulmate, and we'll see. No, and like I said was earlier, it's about perspective, because what I determine to be a soulmate, obviously wasn't, because we're not together, but I look at it from a different perspective now. What is my definition of a soulmate?
Of a soulmate. And to your point, I want to throw this out there. I've heard people say when they've divorced or they split up that that person is still their soulmate. And I believe that that individual can still be your soulmate. You may not have that natural or that physical connection with them, but you have other elements of connection with them, that foundation, the friendship aspect. And I can say, my ex-husband and I, we're not soulmates, but we still have a good friendship with each other, for one, for our son, but two, we get along with each other, and we're not cat and a rat, and we're not tearing each other up. But you still can have those connections with those people and move forward with it. And babe, how do you feel about that?
We'll talk after the. No, I'm fine with it. No, I'm totally fine with it.
No,
And
not
I think that as one matures, especially because they say what 50% of the population has been married and been divorced, or they've been in some type of domestic partnership and it's fell apart or whatever. So there's a great many of individuals out there that have been married, one, two, whatever times. And so in this day and age in our society, that's almost an expectation. If you meet somebody that hasn't been married and they're 35, I mean, it's like, wow, something's wrong with them, or they just are not interested or whatever. But, and granted, a lot of people will put staples on, but I wanted to say this for the record. When we talk about the different types of love, and we've been talking about body, soul, mind, and spirit, and the whole nine yards. But there's technically there's four, loves. At least I believe there are. There's storage. What we're talking about. Making deposits.
Yes.
And what that is, that's empathy, that's bond, that's hey, look, you know what, like you said, there are going to be some times where we're not physical, where we don't have that intimacy, but you know what, because we have that storage and because we've made deposits, we can reflect. We can say, gosh, you know what, remember we went there, we had a great time, and blah 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 blah, and we hung out and we just enjoyed each other's company. That's the storage. You're
Hold on, let me
reflecting.
stop you there.
Ooh.
The storage on that point, my mom has this saying. She always said that when Regas and I first got together, and her advice was, never let your relationship get old or stale. What did she say, Regas? She said, always keep that broom new.
Yeah.
Never let that broom get worn out or old or worn down, but always keep that love fresh. Always keep that love new. Always keep that honey dripping off the moon. But making those deposits.
Honey, we don't use brooms anymore. I need to talk to your mother about that. We're vacuum and Roomba and everything. No, but seriously, I mean, I think that what she was trying to say is that continue to make deposits into your relationship, and then you can define what your soulmate is or isn't within the confines of whether it's a friendship or in a romantic setting. And so the second one is philia. Which means a friend or bond. It's a friend bond. It's like you said, your Roxanne and some of your other girlfriends, where you guys can go back and pick up like it was yesterday.
Like we was in sixth grade.
Exactly. So that's called the philia, which is the friend bond. And then there's eros, which is the romantic part of the relationship. And that's the physical part, etc. And then there's what we try to infuse into our relationship, which is our foundation, which is the agape,
Agape.
which is the unconditional godly love. I mean, and I believe that in a lot of relationships today, and I've been guilty of this in my previous relationships, is that sometimes we put definitions around the wrong things, and sometimes we put staples around the wrong things, and then instead of really feeding into each other and building each other up, we're actually tearing each other's down. We're in competition with each other. I do this and you don't do that, and it becomes an aggressive type of
Working
relationship.
against each other
Yeah.
instead of working together.
Yeah, working in harmony, having tandem, having cohesiveness. So much of that is lost in relationships today because they go in there with the wrong mindset. And even though they may have defined themselves as, oh, that's my soulmate because of maybe the house or some of the, like I said earlier, the tangible benefits, but outside of that, you start stripping that away, they really don't have anything. So we try to look at our relationship and infuse it with that agape, because then when you have unconditional love, then things are not so, oh my gosh, you said that to me 4 weeks ago and you're still harboring it, or you did this to me and you're still harboring that feeling. But when you have unconditional love, love knows no boundaries. Love doesn't keep score. Love doesn't do all of these different things. And so when you have that infused into your relationship, then you can start, in my opinion, you can start talking about, soulmates and things of that nature, whether it's on the friend level or within the context of a relationship.
Yeah, I agree with that. You were saying that that agape love. And I know that one of the things when we first got together and that spiritual aspect is that we wanted to make Christ our foundation. I mean, not everybody does that, but that was in our relationship, that we wanted to have that Christ as our foundation because we wanted to be able to have that connection when troubles arise, that we're able to get on our knees and pray with each other. So when we come to an impasse where we can't get past that or solve it, that we're going to take our issues and our problems to God and try to work through that. And I know we've had some things where I haven't gone any longer than a week where it was me where I'm trying to work that thing out in my mind and be like, oh, is it just me, or is it, or do I really need to take this to Regas? And I'd be like, hey babe, I know it's been a week ago, but I got to bring this to you. And I'm able to have these conversations with him. And sometimes we come to a point where he's like, okay, well, I may not necessarily agree with you, but I respect what you said. And we're able to move past those things and move on. And like you said, not keep score or tally marks, and are able to still love each other and respect that, hey, I have a difference in opinion and he has a difference in opinion.
And then that's what makes the relationship unique, and that's what makes your relationships unique, is that you're taking two individuals with two different backgrounds and experiences and raised differently, and you're putting these two and mixing them within the same environment, and you're kind of like, okay, well, I've been this way, I've been that way, and let's hopefully we don't break. And you put all those things together, and that's what makes relationships special, because you're really trying to get an understanding of one another and trying to work around all of that, the what I call the outer fringes, that we may or may not agree with on certain things, but because we care and we love each other unconditionally, we are able to go, you know what, I can deal with that. That's okay. That's okay. You have that difference of opinion. That's okay. You look at it from that perspective. But as long as we can find some center and some common ground, we can get beyond whatever that is. So when you talk about soulmates, whether it's from a friend perspective or from a relationship perspective, first of all, define. You need definition, because like I said earlier, if you're taking yourself within a relationship and making deposits everywhere else but your relationship, you're going to have trouble down the road. It is going to come to that. I mean, you don't go to the bank and go, where's all my money? And you never put anything in. It just doesn't happen that way.
Yeah, it doesn't happen like that. So to sum it all up, what is a soulmate? Well, Basically, it's based on how you see or view your relationship. And like Rika said, if you're making those deposits into your relationship to build on those areas, to build on those spiritual areas, to build on those body, mind, soul connection with your spouse. Because if you're not making those deposits, how are you able to be a soulmate with that individual? That's from if you're dating, are you making those deposits into that, building upon that relationship to have that firm foundation? Are you guys friends? Are you just knocking the boots? Are you,
Ooh, ooh.
what type of foundation do you have in order to build that foundation to have or to be that soulmate with that person?
Yeah, so reach out to us. We would love to hear your comments.
Yeah, we want to hear what you guys think about soulmates.
Yeah, that's
So-
really good stuff. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And next Saturday,
We'll be here. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're throwing that at me.
Yeah.
Next Saturday. Yes, thank you, babe. We will be featuring the Melanated Market at the Oasis of Hope Center from 3 to 6 p.m. If you can, please join us on that date. Come out, support. There'll be a lot of good talent, a lot of good businesses out there being featured. Come out and support.
yeah, so we just wanted to put that plug in. And of course, our friends here at the BD Local, they are great. We want to give a big shout out to them. And we want to say thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time on
Wrecked and Certified.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks.